Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. Today we have a solar warlock that's going to go absolutely insane. I'm talking not only will it scorch, of course, but it's going to allow you to have an infinite amount of restoration, radiant, and heat rises. It is absolutely insane. So without further ado, let's get into this build. Now to start, we're going to need our exotic that ties the whole build around, and that is going to be Starfire Protocol. Starfire is going to make us that when we have a fusion grenade equipped, we will get an extra charge, we will gain 100% class ability energy on a fusion grenade kill, and it'll give us a passive 20% additional base cooldown. And while we're radiant or standing in an empowering or well of radiance, we're going to get 20% energy on our grenade every single kill. And it's also going to give us 5% energy back on a hit. So this is absolutely insane. We're going to be able to maintain and just spam all of our abilities. As you can see in the gameplay here, I also have Restoration ×2 and Radiant on permanently, as well as Heat Rises. It never runs out. I can just mow through a ton of enemies. Obviously, I have a lot of ways of scorching. I have a lot of ways of obviously healing. So even when there's a bigger enemy, it just doesn't matter. And I can Phoenix dive like crazy, which also applies more Scorch and will cure me, giving me a nice little chunk of healing. This build is so nice to use. And that's also going to be because of our aspects. So starting off with our first solar aspect is going to be Touch of Flame. Touch of Flame is going to make it so that our healing, solar, and firebolt and fusion grenades will have an enhanced functionality. Obviously, we're only using fusion, and that's going to make the fusion grenade explode twice. That means every single time that we go ahead and throw our fusion grenade, it's not only going to just explode that one initial time, it's going to actually explode a second time, allowing it to deal even more damage, which is great for destroying obviously bigger health enemies, and even just making sure that a smaller yellow bar or just a simple horde of enemies is going to die. So that is obviously amazing. It's going to guarantee we get our kill, which is going to keep helping out our gameplay loop. Now we're going to need our second aspect to make sure that we can continue our gameplay loop, and that is going to be the Heat Rises. Heat Rises is going to make it so that you can fire your weapons, melee, and throw grenades while gliding. You have to do this by consuming your grenade. You will get Heat Rises, and it will release a burst of healing that cures. While you're airborne, any kill will increase the duration and grant melee energy. This is essential. You start by consuming a grenade, so you use Heat Rises, and then you go airborne and just slay out by using your abilities. Obviously, you come down when you get a Phoenix dive, go back up in the sky. It allows you to really just chain abilities like in an insane amount. And you'll see that every time we get a kill while airborne, we get a huge chunk to all of our stuff. Now, for our abilities, we're going to start with our class ability. We're going to want Phoenix Dive. Phoenix Dive is going to obviously allow us to dive to the ground. This is going to apply cure to ourselves and nearby allies. And while Heat Rises is active, which it should be, you will gain Restoration and Scorch upon landing. Our melee is going to be Celestial Fire. You can use Incinerator Snap if you would like. I wouldn't recommend it though, only because Celestial Fire has a lot further range, and we're going to be airborne, flying in the sky, like a lot. So it's going to be much better to use Celestial Fire. This is going to allow us to send forth a Scorching Explosion, which is pretty nice. And of course, for our grenade, we're going to want fusion grenades. This is going to make it so that we can go ahead and apply Scorch, but obviously fusion grenade is what Starfire Protocol will proc with and how we're going to make this entire build work. So obviously you're going to need fusion grenade to make everything. So that is literally like the main core of the build. Now we'll get to the fragments in just a second, but I want to show you how powerful it is. I am in a -25 power loss sector, well I should say a solo op right here. And as you can see, I am just ability spamming. I'm using a ton of Phoenix Dives, a ton of fusion grenades, a ton of Celestial Fires, and it just completely erases everything. It is insane. And you can see on the left side of the screen as well that I always have Restoration ×2, I always have Radiant, and I always have Heat Rises. And you'll also see that I create a lot of fire sprites, which is going to help out if we have other things that can proc with that as well, whether from future artifacts or even the current artifact or anything of that sort. So that's always a nice benefit too, is that we can take advantage of elemental pickups. Now, of course, no build is perfect without its fragments. So let's get into the fragments and see how we can make this build and tie it in to that way we have a full 100% ready to go build. So starting off, we're going to use the Ember of Solace. Ember of Solace is going to make it so that our restoration and radiant effects will last 50% longer. This is going to help so much because this is going to allow us to keep restoration and radiant up like crazy much longer, and it's just nicer this way. It gives us more time to do what we do with the next fragment, which is going to be Ember of Empyrean. So solar kills, whether from abilities or weapons, are going to extend the duration of restoration and radiant. That is why I like Solace, because it plays off each other. If I have a longer time with radiant restoration, that gives me more time to get a kill to extend the duration. So that is why they pair so nicely. Now this next one is going to tie the build like crazy. It's going to be Ember of Searing. So killing any scorched enemy is going to spawn a fire sprite, which obviously picking up a fire sprite will give you grenade energy, but it will also give you melee ability energy. Every single thing we use will scorch. Our Phoenix Dive even scorches. Obviously our grenade and our melee ability does as well. Now speaking of powered melees, we're going to want Ember of Torches. This is going to make so that our powered melee hits will make you and allies within an 8-meter radius radiant for 8 seconds, or 12 for our case since we're using Ember of Solace. So this is how we're going to tie the build around like crazy. Why we get so much melee energy, so much restoration, so much radiant. Just, it's absolutely insane. You can see that I'm clearly going through entire hordes of enemies here, a ton of Vex in a -25 Caldera Master run, and I'm just having really no issues. I'm not really getting close to dying at all. My grenade is able to kill a ton of enemies thanks to the double explosions from Touch of Flame. Heat Rise is obviously helping me stay airborne and allow me to refund a ton of energy because obviously, like I said, kills while airborne with Heat Rises gives you melee energy, and obviously Starfire is going to refund us our grenade on hits and kills. So it's a great way to just tie everything together. Now, obviously there is an artifact, and I'm going to tell you right now that this artifact is going to help out a little bit as well. But as I have done with pretty much every build I have made, this build does not require artifact mods to work. It is future-proof, meaning that even in the future when Season 27 is over and we no longer have access to the Implement of Curiosity, you will still be able to use this build just as strong as it is now. But of course, there are some mods that will help us as well. So let me show you which ones. Starting off with Fever and Chill. This is a very beneficial mod. Rapid precision hits with solar weapons will grant Radiant. That is going to be very helpful because Radiant obviously is going to help us out. Radiant Shrapnel is also very good. Dealing sustained damage with Radiance or doing a Scorch combatant will cause the target to release solar projectiles, which will scorch as well. Shield Crush is also very amazing. While you have Radiant, your grenade will recharge faster and deal increased damage. So this is going to make our fusions even better. Now, Elemental Coalescence is also pretty good because defeating targets will have a chance to create fire sprites since we are on the solar subclass. Elemental Coalescence is also very good because picking those up will give us some energy to our least charged ability. So that's a very nice one to have. And pairing all of that with Elemental Overdrive could be pretty good too if you want to run this one, because this will allow you to get increased damage to solar weapons when you pick up a fire sprite. So the build is absolutely insane. As you can see, here's the gameplay of it. You want to consume Heat Rises by consuming a grenade. And as you can see on the left, when I get a kill while on the ground, nothing really happens. The timer's still going, nothing happens. Now, if I go airborne and get a kill, you can see that 5 seconds gets added. And then I can just keep going on. The timer will keep raising. And as you can see, it's going insane. You also can see that I just got Radiant a little bit from our artifact mod as well. Now, as you can see, when I use Phoenix Dive and without it, I did not get restoration with Heat Rises. Now, when I put on Heat Rises and I use it, I will get a lovely amount of restoration. Obviously, we have our Radiance off powered melee hits thanks to our fragment. And as you can see, this build is going to be crazy. And you get a 100% refund on a fusion grenade kill for your Phoenix Dive. As you can see, get a kill with a grenade, 100% back. It's just instantly back. I've tried this with a 20 class and it works. It does not matter. You can have a 0 class and you will get a fully refunded Phoenix Dive on a fusion kill. Now, as you can see, this is how the gameplay kind of works. Start by consuming a grenade. Use your powered melee to get radiant, then use a Phoenix Dive to get restoration, and then just chain all your abilities. Use your grenade, Phoenix Dive, go in the air, get some kills, use a fusion, which is going to refund your class ability, aka Phoenix Dive, use Phoenix Dive again, and then go in the air. Just keep chaining this over and over again, and it's going to be insane. I highly recommend running a solar weapon with this. It does not matter. It can be Devil's Ruin, Tommy's Matchbook, a legendary one, including the Solstice SMG we just got, Yeartide. That is a very, very good option. But as you can see, that is the gameplay loop right there. You just basically ability spam like crazy. Every good build has its armor mods that ties it all together. So for this build, we're going to start over here on our helmet. You're going to want a harmonic siphon. We're going to be using solar weapons, or at least we should be using solar weapons. So that is why we only need a harmonic. And then ashes to assets and hands on. Those both are going to make it so that when we get grenade or melee kills, we get some bonus super energy. You can swap one of them if you want to a dynamo, but it shouldn't really matter that much. So these are pretty good options. For your gauntlets, you're going to want to put on a firepower. We're going to get a lot of grenade kills, so we might as well create some orbs of power from them. We're going to want a impact induction, so that when we cause damage with a powered melee, aka celestial fire, it will reduce our grenade cooldown. And on that same note, a heavy-handed will be good to make it so that our powered melee, yet again, celestial fire, will create an orb of power if it gets a kill. For our chest piece, you're just going to want to put on any arc resistance, void resistance, any resistance mods that benefit the activity that you're doing. For the legs, you're going to want a better already. Since we'll create a few orbs of power, we might as well get our health to start regenerating, get a little sliver back. Even if we get hit, we get a little sliver. Or obviously the full health bar back if we don't get hit on a pickup, so that's pretty nice. And then an innervation and an invigoration. That way we get a little bit to our grenade cooldown and melee cooldown back every time we pick up an orb of power. And on the class item, or our Warlock bond, we're going to want Outreach. This is going to make so that it will reduce our melee cooldown when we use our class ability, aka Phoenix Dive. We're also going to want a Bomber to pair with that, so that was when we use our Phoenix Dive. We will also reduce the cooldown of our grenade, which is going to be obviously very essential to our build because it's Fusion Grenade, so we're going to want that. And we're also going to want to use, last but not least, a Reaper mod. This is going to make us so that after we use our Phoenix Dive, our next weapon, Final Blow, will spawn an orb as well. So should we end up getting a kill with our gun after using one of our very, very many Phoenix Dives, we will get an orb as well. So with all of that being said, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build. And if you have any ideas for other future builds that you want to see made, let me know in the comments below as well. And while you're down there, if you like the video, why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz, because it lets me know you want to see more build videos, and I enjoy making them, and we have a pretty big catalog. So why not join the family, stick around, and check out some of the other builds. With all of that, though, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, I will see you around the tower.